Hey, welcome back, or hello for the first time. Today we're going to be looking at what a curator is and what exactly it is that a curator does. If you've ever wondered, now is the chance to learn more about curators and more about museums. So I'm Sydney, and this is my channel, Curator and Curator 51. Here we do museum-related book reviews, museum overviews, museum ASMR, what is a curator, what is a collections manager, videos that have everything and anything to do with museums. So as I mentioned before, today we'll be going over what a curator is, a museum curator, and what a curator does. So many of you might have heard me mention a curator before, especially when I was talking about the book Meet Me at the Museum by Anne Youngson. In that book, there is a curator mentioned as he is one of the main characters. If you don't know what a museum curator is or does, this would be a great video for you to watch before you read Meet Me at the Museum. So curators do a lot of things for museums. There's no one specific definition, and there's no right or wrong definition for a curator. But a general consensus for some of the things that a curator is in charge of is research into the museum's collection, as well as interpretation and content that they could use for an upcoming exhibition. Some larger museums have more specific curators, such as curators for antiquities from Greece, Rome, and Egypt, or curators that are in charge of more specific things like musical instruments from ancient Egypt or musical instruments from ancient Greece. So again, those are more specialized curators, and a lot of them, and most all of them, have PhDs in their specific area of focus. In addition to the research aspect of museum curators, curators also have the job of content interpretation. This means that they decide how to present an object to the public and how it fits into their current exhibition, a temporary exhibition, a permanent exhibition. That could be writing labels or figuring out what the best flow is for the exhibition itself. Overall, museum curators do a lot for museums. They work with many different parts of the staff, many different areas of the museum, and they don't just do one specific thing. At my university, we found it very hard to define what exactly a museum curator is and what they do, just because they're an integral part of the museum and they do so many different things. This could be curators working on conservation practices and preservation practices. This would mean that curators often have to do, for example, woodworm treatment on wooden artifacts that are within the museum's collection. Or this could be setting bug traps to see what kind of bugs are in the collections or if there are any bugs coming in. This could also be giving guided tours and answering any questions that people may have about the exhibition itself. The museum curators work very hard to create an educational and informational environment for audience members inside the museum. I know this video was very short compared to my other videos, but I thought it was very important for people to understand the different jobs within a museum or gallery. So if you have a question about a certain role within a museum that you've always wanted to know what they do or how it works, just comment below. I'll do my best to answer any questions that you may have. Of course, we will continue with our book reviews. I am currently in the process of reading about 3 books. Some of them are very long, some of them are very short. So once I finish one of those books, or if I decide to reread another book, then I will review one of those. And while we're on the topic of new things on this channel, be sure to keep an eye out for Miss Jemima Puddle Duck. She is now the channel's mascot and my travel companion for whenever I go to museums. She will be there to tell you well, not really tell you, but she will be there to show you what part of the museum is educational, what part of the museum is family friendly. She might just be hiding in the museum for you to find. So be sure to keep an eye out for both of our adventures, our upcoming adventures. I plan to hit a few more museums and historic houses here in the UK, and then you might see some in the US as well as the EU. As the goal of this channel is to make museums less intimidating, I want to make this environment as welcoming as possible. So if you have any questions or comments about anything museum related, just let me know, and be sure to subscribe to keep up with all the adventures and make museums less intimidating. Hopefully you've been visiting a lot of museums, historical sites, aquariums, or zoos, as they do count as museums, and learning a little bit along the way. So here's to making museums less intimidating, one adventure at a time, and I'll see you next week. Bye!